Let's begin with what is making headlines across the globe. And rivalry between Russia and NATO has entered a new phase, and this time it's beyond the realm of conventional war. European countries are accusing Moscow of unleashing hybrid warfare.
A tactic that blends limited kinetic action with non-kinetic operations like cyber attacks, disinformation and economic coercion to destabilize an enemy without starting a full-scale open war. A recent surprise visit by the CIA chief John Ratcliffe to Russia reportedly focused on the same issue. As per reports published in the American media, the chief of America's external intelligence agency has warned Moscow against attacking NATO countries. These reports come at the heels of an intelligence assessment which raised the possibility of limited Russian military venture to test NATO's resolve.
However, Moscow has rejected these claims. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called them a scare story that have nothing to do with realities. Instead, he accused European countries of having aggressive policy against Russia.
Russia is facing a very aggressive policy towards it on the part of European countries. This aggression originates precisely from European countries. Any claims to the contrary are a distortion of reality and are simply the usual sort of newspaper hoaxes, nothing more.
But European countries are increasingly raising alarm over Russia's hybrid warfare tactics. Since March this year, several drones have entered the NATO airspace across the Baltic countries. Russia reportedly steers Ukrainian drones toward NATO territories by manipulating satellite navigation signals to feed false target coordinates. Ukrainian drones hitting NATO countries gives Moscow a plausible deniability. According to the Lithuanian defense minister, Moscow is weighing a potential false flag operation using captured Ukrainian drones to strike critical infrastructure in the Baltic region. In the recent months, incidents of hybrid attacks are on the rise across Europe. Poland said it thwarted an attempted assassination attempt of an American citizen. Estonia accused Moscow of being behind a fire at a drone manufacturing facility. In May, a drone had hit an apartment building in Romania, and most recently, Germany discovered an explosive-laden drone at the Leipzig airport. German Chancellor Merz said that those responsible for the hybrid attacks will pay the price.
Germany has increasingly found itself in the crosshairs of hybrid attackers. This is demonstrated not least by the August 4th attack at Leipzig airport. Attackers are increasingly willing, with no scruples, to accept even serious property damage and even injuries and deaths.
In the latest diplomatic pushback, Hungary has classified Russia as a threat. New Prime Minister Peter Magyar is rewriting Hungary's ties with Russia. The new policy documents clearly states that Russia's behavior is a threat to Hungary, Europe and the global order. Apart from this, European countries have accused Russia of election interference as well. The list includes major NATO members like France, Germany and Poland, influencing public opinion, electronic warfare, covert operations and cyber attacks. Europe seems to have taken a conservative and defensive stance as Russia's alleged hybrid warfare falls short of triggering NATO's mutual defense clause. Russia is also emboldened by the fact that the United States is growing more transactional under Donald Trump's presidency. This leaves European nations scrambling to strengthen their own defenses while taking primary role in supporting Ukraine's war efforts against Russia. Russia says Europe is pushing for war and not for peace. On the other hand, European countries say Ukraine's defense is Europeans' defense. Mr. John Erath is a Senior Policy Director for the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. He's now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Erath, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for your time. Do you believe this reports that the CIA director only went to Russia to warn the Kremlin not to escalate conflict with U.S. NATO allied nations and the military and economic support to Iran, something that could have been done through a phone conversation? Do you read something else might have prompted this impromptu, quick visit to an adversary nation?
The visit to Moscow was obviously prompted by something more. Usually, if a CIA director or similar official would go to Moscow, it would be to share some concrete intelligence, either a threat to Russian citizens or a threat by Russian citizens to U.S. or NATO interests. So it's likely that there was some sort of concrete intelligence aboard the aircraft and evidence that they wanted to present to the Russians to indicate that we know what the Russians are up to and to stop what they are doing.
So what about this warning that to Moscow that they should not attack states like Latvia, Estonia and Lithuania, which are U.S. allied NATO members?
That's very consistent with past practice. When Russia has posed threats to those countries in the past, there have been warnings from Washington. This one's a little unusual in that it was carried out in person by the CIA director. So that indicates that there was some sort of concrete intelligence aboard the aircraft.
And so, Mr. Erath, would Russia and Vladimir Putin be convinced of, perhaps with all the speculation that's going on that, Russia might use and end up using a nuclear weapon against one of the countries, if that be the end resort? Would it be convinced not to use it and not to escalate this further, even if it doesn't use a nuclear weapon?
When you say use a nuclear weapon, you mean explosively.
Yes.
Russia has already been using its nuclear weapons as diplomatic tools and to increase its diplomatic leverage on countries it sees as adversaries. So that part is already in progress. But the explosive use of a nuclear weapon, an actual nuclear attack carried out on the territory of Ukraine or a NATO member, would be a serious escalation. And that's something Russia has avoided thus far.
Mr. Erath, let me ask you this. Do you think Russia will accept United States warning not to do business with Iran?
That's it's a difficult question to say because we don't know what the nature of the warning was, and we don't know what the nature of the business Russia was doing with Iran was. It's likely that Russia will continue to follow its own interests. It will do business with Iran where it sees that there is an advantage to Russia in doing so. And that advantage could be simply to keep the U.S. occupied there and to keep the U.S. Busy and doing other things and not interfering in Russia-Ukraine war. But it's possible that Russia is trying to send a message to the U.S. that if you interfere with something we consider our business, Ukraine, we will interfere with yours. So they could be doing something with Iran.
So which is perhaps, it has been overlapping, Mr. Erath, for some time now since the two wars have been going on simultaneously, and that overlapping has been happening. But as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, do you see it coming to its logical conclusion and some of the issues getting resolved anytime soon, considering the fact that President Donald Trump has been pressuring the Russian side as well?
It would be very nice if the war could conclude soon. I remain something of a pessimist on this. I don't think that either side has exhausted their options, and both sides still see the prospects of an early peace as being detrimental to their interests, that there is more to gain by continuing to fight than by making an early peace. So I don't see that there is an end to the war coming anytime soon. It is likely that the fighting will continue until one side or the other sees that it is losing, that it will lose more by continuing to fight than by concluding peace. So far, that side seems to be Russia. Russia has done very badly. They have lost territory this year, and they've lost the initiative on the ground in many ways. So it could be, but Putin is trying these things very logically to maintain Russia's position and to maintain Russia's gains thus far in the war.
All right, Mr. John Erath, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.
Thank you for inviting me.